We begin, though, tonight in a similar vein with a picture of contempt in many forms. Contempt for Congress and the responsibility we grant it to investigate matters of national importance. Contempt for the law and contempt for democracy, which took a blow when the building you see there was attacked. We got another reminder of it late today. Newly revealed video of the brutal assault on D.C. Metro Police Officer Michael Fanone, who you'll see highlighted as he's dragged out of the building by the mob. Now, the usual warnings apply for obvious reasons that some might want to look away for a few moments. A mob of people attacking a police officer. Officer Fanone and about 140 other members of law enforcement were hurt during the attack. Several later died by suicide. The people they were protecting of both parties were threatened, some with death, as they carried out their duty to uphold the results of a free and fair election. Contempt for that, for Congress and the law, all of it tonight, is personified by Steve Bannon, one-time chief strategist for the former president. When last we heard, he was being pardoned by that same president while facing charges of swindling donors who thought their money was funding the border wall. Prosecutors say a lot of it, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth, was siphoned off by Bannon himself and used to cover personal expenses. The former president pardoned him, even though he was accused of conning the very same president's supporters, which tells you a little something about what that former president thinks of his own supporters. It came as no surprise today that instead of sitting for a deposition, Bannon defied the House January 6 committee's subpoena. For its part, the committee vowed to move forward with criminal contempt proceedings. It also postponed depositions for three other senior allies of the former president and said it would take up the Bannon matter next Tuesday. Their next step would be to build a criminal contempt referral, which, if approved by the House, would then be sent to federal prosecutors. CNN's Galen Collins asked about it at the White House today.
Is it the president's position that those who defy congressional subpoenas related to January 6th should face prosecution from the Justice Department?
Well, Caitlin, I know that has been raised as an issue, of course, by what we've seen happen in Congress. It's the purview of the Department of Justice to determine if there would be criminal referral, any criminal decisions. So, and they handle exclusively those decisions. So I'd point you to them.
Well, as legal analysts have told us on the program, what the Justice Department decides to do is anybody's guess. It is, however, a different institution than it was during the last administration, when Steve Bannon and others could run roughshod over lawmakers, knowing that the former president would keep what he'd like to call his Justice Department and his Attorney General out of it. Or in the case of William Barr, trust the Attorney General to spin and distort the truth in his behalf, as Barr did with the Mueller report. Now, by the way, in case you're wondering what Steve Bannon was doing last night, instead of preparing for the deposition he was subpoenaed to give, he was headlining a rally for Glenn Youngkin, Republican candidate for governor of Virginia. The former president phoned in to endorse him and spread lies about the 2020 election, of course, at the same time. Even more telling, though, and obscene, especially given what happened on the 6th, was the Pledge of Allegiance to this particular flag.
I also want to invite Kim from Chesapeake. She's carrying an American flag that was carried at the peaceful rally with Donald J. Trump on January 6th.
Now, Glenn Youngkin, who, by the way, is happy to accept the former president's endorsement, made sure to stay away from last night's rally. He said this today about the flag's connection to January 6th, quote, "I wasn't involved, and so I don't know, but if that is the case, then we shouldn't pledge allegiance to that flag." As for what the flag symbolizes to Bannon and the former president's followers, we can't say, but even assuming it only stands for the rally before the attack and nothing else, it's not like that was some zenned out kumbaya moment or anything. It was incitement and lies about the election.
This is the most corrupt election in the history, maybe of the world.
And all we are demanding of Vice President Pence is this afternoon at 1 o'clock, he let the legislatures of the state look into this so we get to the bottom of it.
And we fight. We fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
Let's have trial by combat.
Today is the day American patriots start taking down names and kicking ass.
So we're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue. I love Pennsylvania Avenue. And we're going to the Capitol. We're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women. And we're probably not going to be cheering so much for some of them. Because you'll never take back our country with weakness.
And so it began. We all know what happened next, but just in case you're wondering whether the organizers had any inkling of where this might lead, you need only listen to Steve Bannon's own podcast the day before.
All hell is going to break loose tomorrow. Just understand this. All hell is going to break loose tomorrow.
So is it any wonder the Select Committee wants to talk to him? And is it any wonder the man who couldn't stop talking about what was about to happen the next day no longer wants to talk about it now? We're joined now by Illinois Congressman Adam Kinzinger, one of just 2 Republicans on the committee by the party's own choice, it should be said. Congressman Kinzinger, appreciate you being with us. Your colleague, Chairman Benny Thompson, has not ruled out a subpoena for former President Trump, saying tonight, quote, nobody is off limits to a subpoena from this committee. I mean, is that really realistic? Potentially a subpoena for him or even for Vice President Pence?
Yeah, I'm sure it is realistic. I mean, we're not going to jump to doing that immediately because obviously that's big. There's a lot of people that know a lot. But I'm going to tell you, I know the members of this committee. We've been meeting a lot. We're talking about these issues. We are determined to get to the bottom of what happened. I think what you're seeing with the potential criminal referral by Steve Bannon by the committee, hopefully, if people misinterpret anything else, interpret this. We're serious about this. And anybody that is either being subpoenaed now or will be in the future, think twice before you reject a lawful order from Congress.
So, but I mean, in terms of moving forward to hold Bannon in criminal contempt, the committee is going to hold a business meeting Tuesday. What happens there, and what are the next steps after that? Because couldn't this just get tied up in courts for, and run out the clock on this committee?
Yeah, it certainly could. I mean, here's what happens. So we have a business meeting. We refer it out of the committee. It goes to the floor for a vote. We expect it would pass the floor. And that then is the referral to the Department of Justice. We expect that the Department of Justice will do their job and refer this to a grand jury. And we certainly hope they will. But that will be in the DOJ's hands. Now, keep in mind, really from a historical perspective, a subpoena from Congress is seen, in essence, as the equivalent of a subpoena from a court. And we know a lot of times there are people that ignore subpoenas from court, and they are held in criminal contempt for doing that. That's what we're doing here. A criminal contempt referral is nothing, frankly, crazy. It doesn't happen as much with Congress, but it is, in essence, within our power, and it is the right thing to do. And again, anybody that gets a subpoena in the future, look, all we want is the answer. If you're running from something, I mean, I think that in and of itself says something, but the American people deserve to know the truth. And even if they don't want to know the truth today, some folks want to put their head in the sand. What matters, I think, more than anything is in 10 years, what is the truth? What is understood? And I think that's why the work we're doing is so important.